Good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News. You guys can't hear me talking and you couldn't see me. I'm trying. I'm like the only one here, remember. I don't have this wonderful production crew. But shout out to StreamYard, at least allowing me to use their platform in the free mode, right? And present to you guys. So thank you so much for joining me this morning. I'm just trying to do a quick post on X again. I will get this together soon. But thank you guys for joining me here on this Tell It All Tuesday. We've got a lot of information to give you. Let me get this done real quick so that those on X can join us this morning here on YouTube. So thank you guys for joining me here. I know it's been a couple of days. Hey, Carlos, thank you so much for joining this morning. So we've got a little bit to get into. We're going to start with just some trending topics on X. It came through my feed because it's talking about me. It's like on my For You. And one of the interesting things that came up is the data centers. And this has been a big conversation, especially because when I sat back and thought about it, and I've been watching some videos on it, it serves no purpose. And now a lot of people are like, wait a minute, we need it for AI. Understood. But again, it's not a car. AI doesn't turn into a car we can drive. Okay. AI doesn't turn into food we can eat. AI does not serve any purpose in a physical realm, right? It's more of a service. But unfortunately, it's a service that utilizes resources, okay, and does not put the resources back. So it's almost like this destructive Pac-Man, for those of you that are 80s babies, that has been created. And it's constantly destroying the earth, right? I'm not going to sit up here and be like, oh, it's climate change. No, it's not climate change. Okay. They're literally creating a machine that they say, okay, humans, we want you to support this, but at the same time you're supporting it, we're going to destroy you. Huh? Yeah, that's happening. So right now, homeowners are in a fight with Georgia Power Lines taking land for data centers. So they're now using eminent domain for these data centers. And it's crazy. And I'm going to show you Coweta County here in a minute, which is a beautiful county. It is where there's Noonan that's there. There's Fayetteville, where some people that my husband and I know live in that area. Peachtree City is there. Okay, a beautiful, beautiful county in Georgia, and it's northern. It's like I want to say almost sits like right in the center of Georgia. Um, a little bit north of Jacksonville. They call it Jacksonville the center, but I'm just saying, about an hour. So Georgia Power plans a 35-mile, 500 kilovolt transmission line across 4 counties to meet surging electricity demand from population growth and AI-driven data centers like the massive $17 billion project sale in Coweta County. The project affects over 330 private parcels, with 21 homes facing full acquisition, prompting lawsuits and rallies from residents who see it as an invasion of their way of life, which it is. Officials stress negotiation and competitive compensation first, with eminent domain as a last resort under Georgia law, while more public meetings are set for late 2025, early 2026, and ahead of 2027 construction start. Here, I just recently moved to Camden County, which is southeast Georgia, and they actually put a halt to the data centers down here because I think they kind of stopped and said, "Wait a minute, what is this going to do for our county, and what destruction would it bring to our county?" So I'm going to research that a little bit more and bring that information to you guys. But yeah, these data centers, they're not helpful. They're hurtful. They really, really are. And I'm going to play this video for you guys. Let me pause it. Pause. Go back. I want to read the caption from Wall Street Apes. It says the government is preparing to seize homes and land using eminent domain for the construction of a data center in Coweta County, Georgia. This American's childhood home is being taken by force by Georgia Power. Homeowners in this county do not have a choice. It affects over 330 private properties. Georgia Power says it will negotiate purchases and easements and use eminent domain. Georgia Power claims it's to strengthen the grid for the growing energy demand in Georgia due to many new data centers. The lines are widely linked to Project Sail, a massive proposed hyperscale data center campus that will span 829 acres. You know what I say to the data centers? Go somewhere else. Get out of Georgia. We don't need you here. Because here's the thing. Initially, yeah, it's going to create jobs because initially people are going to build it. But once it's built, that's it. There's no maintenance to the building. And all it does is use the natural resources here. And what it's going to become is a utility that they're going to have us pay for and support. So now you want us to pay for our own destruction? Are we kidding right now? Burt Jones, Lieutenant Governor, I need you to be on this. This needs to stop. Now, it was one thing taking over widespread parts of, large areas that weren't being used. Okay. And destroying the water behind it, by the way. But now we're talking about taking people's homes. Now, let me show you Coweta County really quick. I do apologize for any delays with my internet because, my goodness. Anyway, but over here, let me see if I can get rid of that. Oh, no. Do it again. I wanted to outline it for you guys so you could see it. Hopefully, I know sometimes with the screen, but this is Coweta County right here. Now I'm going to zoom out a little bit because I want a water source. You would think if it would be put anywhere, it would be put near a water source because it uses billions of gallons of water a day. Not a week, a day. Why would we have so much green space in Georgia? Why would you put this somewhere where you're going to take and destroy people's homes? That makes no sense to me. Now, we've already done something like this in the past, right? Where people came in and took over people's homes so they could put in roads, right? And streets and cities. And they destroyed people's lives using eminent domain. Eminent domain should only be used as a last resort, not to confiscate people's homes. And this is how it's being used. As far as I'm concerned, Georgia Power is weaponizing eminent domain against the citizens of Georgia. And you want us to continue to use you as our energy? Like, look, at a certain juncture, human beings are going to stand up and say no more to this nonsense. This is over. This is over. The data centers are shut down in the state of Georgia. Okay? It's being all shut down. And at the county level, you need to shut this down. So Coweta County, you need to stand up, grow a pair, stop taking the money on the back end, because right now it seems like it's all good. But it's destroying people's lives. Period. One life is too much. So get it together. Now, this next topic I wanted to check out is Arcadia mayor resigns after guilty plea in China influence case. Now, this is Arcadia, California. And unfortunately, they got a lot going on with the Chinese nationals in California. It's crazy. I know where Arcadia is. Insane. So, federal prosecutors charged the 58-year-old with acting as an unregistered agent of China by running U.S. News Center, a website that posted pro Beijing articles, like one denying Xi Jinping genocide claims as rumors. From late 2020 through 2022, Wang followed directives from Chinese officials with her fiance, Yang Mike's son, her campaign manager, already sentenced to 4 years for similar actions. FBI leaders called the case alarming, highlighting foreign influence in U.S. politics. As Arcadia plans to appoint a replacement soon, it is a very heavily Asian district that it has turned into. It didn't, I want to say they were at like maybe 10% in the 80s, and now I think it's over 50%. So this is who it is. She has pleaded guilty to acting as a foreign agent on behalf of China. So basically a spy. That's what she's done. She's been a spy. Good looking spy. Spy. Just saying. Yeah. So really? We got some wild stuff here on I was trying to see if there was any video showing her speaking or anybody, but yeah, but that's her. Very, very sad. Very sad that people think they can sell out America and not get caught. You're gonna get caught. Because anytime you do evil, you reap what you sow. And that's what people need to remember. That you're not gonna get away from it. Okay. So let's see the next one. Armed gunman wounds 2 in Cambridge traffic shooting. Stopped by trooper and civilian. So Tyler Brown, 46, from Boston, allegedly unleashed 50 to 60 rounds from an assault style rifle on Memorial Drive near River Street around 1:30 p.m. on Monday, striking an MBTA bus driver in the head, who drove himself to the hospital, and another motorist. Both remain in critical condition. Hours earlier, his parole officer reported suicidal statements, and police had warned he might be heading there armed after missing a meeting. Brown, with a long record of violent convictions, including a 2021 armed assault guilty plea, was shot in the legs by a Massachusetts State Police trooper and a legally armed former Marine, then hospitalized in custody, facing murder attempted charges. How would somebody like this walk in the streets? What? Huh? He did these crimes 5 years ago, and he's just on parole. See, this is a problem. And you know what, Massachusetts, I don't even know if I can feel sorry for you, because you did this. You keep doing these things, and then you want to blame guns. No, it's humans that are in a bad situation. And on top of that, when you do incarcerate them, you fill them up and pump them with poison that makes them worse than when they got in. And then you re-release them onto the general public. We really need to be a little bit more thoughtful about what we are doing. So with that, let's get into our next article. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about what's happening with the Democrats, because, it's not it's the blame game. It's not. But people are cannibalizing themselves, in my opinion, with what's going on with this whole redistricting thing. Oops. That is not the right video. There we go. Sorry, you guys.
Welcome to a special edition of Jesse Watters Primetime. I'm Kayleigh McEnany, and for Jesse. Well, Democrats bet big on changing the rules ahead of the election, and now they're mad they got caught. Last month, Democrats tried to redraw Virginia, wipe out Republican districts, and lock in power.
It was a 6-5 congressional district map, 6 Democrats, 5 Republicans under the map that, with this vote, has been approved. It would likely result in a 10-1 Democratic map out of the state of Virginia.
10-1 in a purple state, and Democrats thought they had won the war.
Last night was a big victory for the people of Virginia, a big victory for America, and a big victory for democracy.
We are here in a new day, and we have been asking the Democratic Party to stand up and fight, and now they did.
Credit to the Democrats last night. This is a testament of organization and passion. The enthusiasm is on their side. They have now beat the Republicans at their own game.
Well, what a night in Virginia. We keep saying it. When we fight fire with fire, we win. Mega, dare I say, they're losing at their own game.
But not so fast. The Virginia Supreme Court stepped in and said that is illegal, killing Democrats' power grab before it could even stick. Of course, they're not walking away just yet. Democrats just rushed to the Supreme Court of the United States asking for a do-over. But if Virginia already shut them down, good luck with Alito, Thomas, and the Constitution-abiding justices. This is Democrats' 4th straight redistricting loss in days, and now it's spreading. More Democrat seats are on the line in Florida after Republicans pushed a map that could flip Orlando and South Florida. And Tennessee Republicans just redrew their map, too, putting a reliable Democrat seat in play. And in Alabama, everything's fair game now after the Supreme Court, this just happened, blew out a lower court decision. That blocked Republicans from drawing new maps. Now that they're losing, it's not a game anymore. It's racism, they say.
States like Tennessee want to wipe out every black representative on the map in these states.
From enslavement to lynching, from the burning of Tulsa to the Memphis massacre, from mass incarceration to now the removal en masse of black political power through congressional seats, we have persevered. It worries, the biggest worry of white supremacy, because they've tried everything to destroy us.
So yesterday, Democrats thought they had won the game, and now they are losing it.
You killed and lynched black folks on poplar trees, and we are still here. You've had 3 strikes laws, mass incarceration, denied us of who we are, and we are still here. And today, you'll take the only majority black district from us. But I want you to know, no matter what you do, no matter how much you try and break us and make us bend and make us quit, we will still be here.
Wow, well, this is what happens when the other side finally swings back. For years, Democrats drew the maps however they wanted, and Republicans paid the price. Look at New Hampshire. Trump won 48% of the vote in 2024, nearly half the state. And what does that get them in Congress? Not one Republican. Connecticut, same story. A solid chunk of the state votes red, but the representation in Congress is now none. Now repeat that in Maine, New Mexico, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Vermont, Hawaii, Delaware, all those states, not one Republican seat. So a few red states finally leveled the playing field, and now Democrats can't handle their own rules.
I don't know how many times we have to keep saying it. The right is ruthless. You saw what just happened in Virginia. The Supreme Court overturned the will of the voters. He used his emergency powers, literally used his emergency powers to suspend the primary election, to stop the primary election after votes were already being cast. To do what? To erase black representation in his state. It's happening all across the South.
You know, it's really disgusting. They keep using race. Oh, no, we're not playing the race game anymore. People are delineating. I am an American Negro. Okay? And yes, Negro can be translated into the word black. But depending on the ears that are listening and the understanding, I am an American Negro. I am not a race. I am a lineage. Okay? A lot of these things were set up based on lineage. And then progressive liberals came in and turned it into something it should have never been. Now you're mad because the very thing that you were weaponizing is being used against you. But it isn't, right? And she's going to further explain this. These maps are changing based on the way people are voting. And if that means that what they consider, quote unquote, black representation is losing, maybe you should win your districts. Just because the district is Republican doesn't mean that they won't vote for a Democrat in that district. Win your district. What are we talking about? Vice versa. Republicans, yeah, there's like majority representation. Win the district. If you win the seat, you win the seat. Doesn't matter if they say it's Democratic or not. You win the seat. Start winning. Stop complaining. That's where I'm at.
It's real. It's what we've been warning against.
Hakeem Jeffries clearly overplayed his hand. Democrats burned $62.5 million trying to ram this through. Almost $40 million of that is tied to Jeffries. Now his own party is asking, what did we just do? Quote, I feel like this is a colossal waste of resources that will further erode our politics. Another quote, how many millions of dollars are we spending on this when the DNC is in debt and we have 40 frontline races to win? Even CNN's saying you did this to yourselves.
Can they really keep this to 5 or 10 seats? That's the challenge. History says no, but Republicans are in a better shape today than they were yesterday.
All right, and they can thank the Virginia Supreme Court for that.
And James Clyburn is not panicking. He is praying.
All I'm going to say to that is be very careful what you pray for, because what I do believe is that.
And this individual, he's done nothing for black people but give them fish fries and be in the Congressional Black Caucus and do absolutely nothing to help those that are lineage-based descendants of slaves, right? Who these areas were set aside for. It should be the Congressional Negro Caucus. It should not be called the Congressional Black Caucus. Because, see, people think they can just jump in if they have melanated skin. And that's not what this is about. And so Clyburn's going to learn the hard way. He's going to lose his seat in South Carolina this year. He's not going back. A lot of these Democrats are not going back because you're okay with men and women's sports and in, women's spaces. You're okay with children mutilating themselves. See, we're not having that conversation. You see, now you want to make it all about, oh, it's the Republicans and they're racist. And stop that. Let's just remember that a lot of Democrats have gone over to the Republican Party. And you bring you with you, right? I'm not giving the Republicans a pass. We got one in Florida trying to get amnesty done. A Republican. So this is just gross. What's happening? And people need to get out and vote. And if you want the representation that you so long for, then get out and vote. It's real simple.
When they finish with the redistricting, there will be the possibilities of at least 3 Democrats getting elected here in South Carolina to the United States Congress.
And the ladies of The View, they are ready to fight, fight, fight.
So you know what I think Democrats need to do? They need to go to New York and get those extra seats. They need to redistrict. They need to redistrict in a couple of states, in Illinois, New Jersey, Illinois, Maryland. Redistrict, get your 10 to 20 seats, and then we will get the oversight that we do need, because the Republicans are not playing fair, and now it's time to meet them where they are.
Democrats are actually throwing out the entire Virginia Supreme Court just to get their map back. But why stop at one court?
Would you, Senator, support an effort to add more seats to the Supreme Court, to expand the court?
Well, remember, there's a corrupt shadow hanging over the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court desperately needs reform. It is a corrupt court, and in my opinion, it is a court that needs reform, and I will continue to lead on those things.
These redistricting battles could flip up to 14 seats red, and that's enough to tilt the House for decades. Democrats wanted this fight when they thought they had the edge, but now they are losing. The rules are rigged, the courts are corrupt, and the whole system is broken. Like always, Democrats love the game only when they win.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the...
It's that part. It's like, y'all are sore losers. You don't know how to govern. Neither party, really. You're both good at failing. Okay? And we keep rewarding failure by sending people back to Congress. Stop it. If they have failed, if they have not passed the correct legislation that works at our benefit, the American people, don't send them back. They don't get to go back. I'm tired. Okay? And I'm talking about all over the country. You don't get to go back. If you're not doing your job, you're not going back. You're going to go home and you're going to ride the pine, right? You're going to just sit on the bench, on the sidelines where you should be, because you've lost. And we're not going to be a whole bunch of losers losing with you. Okay? It needs to be said. If you're not first, you're last. Yeah, I quoted Ricky Bobby. Okay? And it needs to start happening. People need to start really losing. Because if Democrats, the way you've been acting, if you think that people are still going to vote for you, and there are some, blue no matter who people out there, they're just like, we're just going to put Democrats in office because we don't want Republicans there. That is sad. Stop it. Stop. And there's always the USA Redemption Party, and I am the founder of that party. We're going to actually have an open forum on TikTok on this Saturday. So I will definitely make sure to put that in the repost of the show. But check us out, usaredemptionparty.com. We are looking for servants of the people, not politicians, sorry. And we also need members of the party to make it stronger so that we can grow, so that we can get these seats, and so that we can start cleaning up our country. Because apparently the Democrats and Republicans don't care. They're more concerned about fighting one another than they are about actually taking care of the American people. Now, with that, we're going to go into the Daily Signal. I'm not going to play the whole video. I'm just going to play part of it. But I want you guys to get the gist of what right now is happening in Iran, right? And what we hope to see moving forward. I'm going to advance the video a little bit, and then I'm going to start it from there.
On the eve of assuming power and removing the regime, and they'll need that infrastructure. The other restraints on Donald Trump are, of course, the economy and the midterms, and they're intertwined. I kept saying to you that we have 7 months, 8 months, we have less than 6 months now from the midterm date of November 3rd, 2026. And the $64,000 question, of course, is what will be the status of the economy then? And this is a little tricky, because all of the economic gurus, and even the Wall Street Journal in particular, had said that we were going to be in a near recession because of the price of energy. I never quite understood that because they had told us for years that energy had played a smaller and smaller role in our more and more diversified economy. But nonetheless, it hasn't yet. If you look at the indicators, the stock market is now at a record high, right in the middle of these negotiations. The GDP is constant at 2%, not great, but it's still, and it's going to grow. The level of foreign investment is already starting to show itself. There was almost record number of, I should say a record small number of people filing for unemployment. The jobs report was the new jobs report was well over 110,000. People had said it was only going to be 50. The price of oil, we were told, was going to go to 150. As I'm speaking today, it's $95. You've got to remember that when Donald Trump entered office on January 21st of 2025, the price was $80. So despite the attempt of the Iranians to stop the traffic coming into the Strait of Hormuz, it's only $15 more today than it was. And that's not going to calibrate that there's going to be more and more oil on the market, not just Russian oil that's being released, but Venezuelan oil, and we're going to increase pumping. So this muddies the waters, and now Donald Trump is starting to think, well, as time goes by and I have less and less time to jumpstart the economy before the midterm elections in which they'll blame me for inflation, for example, I got to get this war concluded. But I can't conclude it with them with the bomb. Otherwise, they're saying that I'm just like an Obama. So he has to determine, can I force them to give up their enrichment? Can I open the strait for everybody and destroy their PT boats and their ability to do anything with their rockets to hit ships? And can I do that in time for the economy to absorb that kinetic action and win the midterms? And the answer is, no one knows, because if the economy is this strong with all of these worries, and if Donald Trump were to hit very quickly some infrastructure in Iran and maybe seal the uranium in these mountains with heavy bombing, or to disable the ability to unload or load oil on Karg Island, he might be able to either do one of two things: force them into submission or prompt a resistance movement to take power, or do so much damage, as many people have said. Well, they can't make war now for 20 years. If they have uranium, it's deep down inside a mountain, as for all we know. And they don't have any leadership. They have no Navy, they have no Air Force, and they probably can't make any drones, and we can still, if we feel like it, blockade them, since there will be no agreement. And that means that he might have longer than he thinks he does. And instead of having less than 6 months, he might say the economy is pretty strong right now in the middle of the whole mess. And it might get even stronger as more oil gets on the market. And the chances that I can force them to cede to my demands, or I can inflict a level of punishment on them that it won't matter. They won't be able to do what they want to do, and that will even help me in the midterm. So we're in an era, a time, nexus of indecision and known unknowns. But the idea that both these countries are up against time constraints has been somewhat modified, because the Iranians feel that they can keep alive, and they don't care what the status of the people are. They can put them down, and they have missiles and drones to threaten and maybe get a longer negotiation. And we were told that, and we all thought that the midterms were the ultimate break on Donald Trump's range of options, and maybe it's not yet, because the economy has been rebounding in ways that no one forecast. Thank you very much. This is Victor Davis Hanson.
Yeah. And I was actually watching Alex Jones the other day, and he was saying, they're talking about getting the uranium and all this stuff. And he was like, well, what happens when there's no uranium? Like, is this the same thing that we did in Iraq with weapons of mass destruction? Does everybody remember that, the WMDs? So is it the same thing with the uranium? You can't just go in and grab it, right? That's not how that works. So it's really going to be interesting to see how things play out with Iran. I mean, are they going to be a frenemy, right? A very hostile ally? Is that the best point of resistance? In my opinion, it has to be. They have to be a hostile ally, right? And you would like, that doesn't make sense. How can you be a hostile ally? Because things can pop off if things go sideways or wrong. But the right negotiation keeps them at the table, keeps the conversation going, keeps the Strait of Hormuz open. Kind of, it makes everybody happy, right? Because not everybody's going to get along, but everybody needs to do, again, what's right for the people, not for themselves. So with that, I'm going to play a quick commercial. We'll see if this works, right? I'm trying, you guys. It's just me here. So with that, let's take a quick break, and I'll see you guys on the other side.
Water sustains life, but what if it could do more than hydrate? What if it could deliver light directly into the body? Introducing the LifeWave X2O water technology system, the first and only water technology system that infuses water with light. Using patented light infusion technology, the result is hydration optimized at the cellular level, supporting metabolism and nutrient absorption. And through hydrogen infusion, delivering antioxidant properties that support the body's natural defenses. When hydration works at the cellular level, you feel it where it matters. You drink it, you feel it. A new era in cellular hydration, powered by light. LifeWave X2O.
Yes, so that's check out. Let's see, it's not letting me add myself back to the stage. Oh, there I am. Okay, sorry, it was a little tiny. But yeah, water is a big deal right now with everybody. And that's why I played that commercial. So if you have any questions on that, you can definitely direct message me at unfilteredvision.com. Or you can send me an email at noni.cmsllc@gmail.com. I am a distributor of LifeWave products, including that water product and also the cellular patch that you saw on the woman in the video. LifeWave is definitely a strong company, growing in leaps and bounds. And again, like I said, water is very important right now, and we need to make sure that we have healthy, clean drinking water. So I want to thank you guys for joining me here. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. That keeps the channel going, right? And it definitely will help me. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. I'm so excited. And I'm close to I want to say it's like the 4,000 hours that I need to get monetized. So I'm like, yay, I'm close. Yay, yay. And yay to everybody that subscribed, everybody that supports the channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing. And with that, I want to get into this next article. I'm not going to play the whole video, but he's talking about an executive order that could actually alter the 401k for everybody. So I don't think people remember, but when Clinton was in office, he got the tech boom. And with that, Social Security had a surplus. Then, when George W. Bush came in office, he went to war in Iraq with the WMDs that I mentioned. But what they did was they raped Social Security. So Social Security has been in a deficit for a long time. And it looks like this new strategy, because I know Donald Trump was like, yeah, we're going to reinvest. And even a lot of Republicans were on board with this. They're like, oh, you don't need Social Security. We'll just put all your 401ks in the market. What? Wait a minute. If I want to gamble with the stock market with my money, let me make that decision. Please don't make that decision for me with my 401k, but this is what's happening. So we're going to check this video out. Not the whole thing, but let's check it out.
They keep telling you Trump just gave your life savings a better chance. The same access pensions had for 30 years. It's now opened up to the rest of America. But I think we've been lied to about what's actually inside the door he opened, and about who really benefits when Wall Street gets handed the keys to a $48 trillion vault. You know, most people don't know this, but Wall Street has a clearance bin. Kind of like the cardboard box at the back of the store with the stuff nobody wanted at full price. For 20 years, federal regulation kept that bin away from your life savings, that is most people's retirement account, for the most obvious reason: risk. Trump says, but they'll be rich. The people who wrote the rules said, they'll go broke. Once your money goes in, you can't see what it's worth. There's no daily price, no transparent fees. And by the time you find out it's worth less or worth nothing, it's too late. It's already gone. Well, last August, the wall came down per the president's executive order. And the update here, just 5 weeks ago, the Department of Labor published a rule that implements the executive order. The comment period, the last day the public can formally object to the rule, that closes June 1st. That's less than 4 weeks from today. After that, it will be up to the Department of Labor and the courts as to whether or not these risky items get access to the $48 trillion vault that is the working man's 401k. Now, for some perspective, that's roughly the same value as every house, condo, and townhouse in the country combined. That's the prize. Wall Street wants it. I mean, they look at your retirement accounts the way a golden retriever looks at an unattended Thanksgiving turkey. And if you're thinking, good thing I don't have a 401k, wait. The 2008 crash didn't ask whether you had a mortgage. It just took the housing market down with it. The dot-com crash didn't ask if you owned tech stocks. It just took the whole economy down with it. If something this big breaks, it doesn't break in a vacuum. It pulls everything around it down too. Your home value, your job, your Social Security, the bank holding your checking account. This matters. If this cracks, everyone gets hit. Now, if this was all happening on its own, like in one place, you could just write it off as policy. It's a new idea going through the normal channels to be determined whether it's going to pass or not. I mean, it's everyday happenings in DC. But it didn't happen in one place. Apollo, Blackstone, Ayers, KKR, and BlackRock, 5 firms, before the rule was published, had already cut deals with the gatekeepers who decide what gets stocked in that bin. They didn't wait. They know something. They're not betting the rule will pass. They're acting like it already did. Act now, paperwork later. That's not how regulated industries normally behave. So the theory is, when 5 competitors move in the same direction at the same time, that's not market enthusiasm. That's a coordinated project to capture that prize before anyone else has a chance. But here's what almost nobody's connecting. The last time Wall Street did this, when too many investors tried to pull their money out of Blackstone's biggest fund at the same time, Blackstone capped withdrawals. They rationed investors' money. So if you wanted to withdraw $100,000 of your money, you only got 25 of it. You had to wait in line for the rest. That rationing lasted 15 months. I mean, we're talking sophisticated investors, people with accountants and lawyers. They couldn't get to their own money for over a year. Now, picture that same gate closing on a 71-year-old who just wants to pay her dental bill. That's not a market correction. That's a hostage negotiation. So here's what's coming. I'm going to show you what they're stuffing in the discount bin, what these things actually are. And I'm going to show you why Wall Street is moving on this so fast they couldn't even wait for the rule to be legal. And then I'm going to show you the 2 moves that put you on the other side of the gate before it closes. I mean, some of you already have one of them. You probably don't even realize it yet. And look, you did everything right. You contributed every paycheck. You stayed in long enough. The market did what the market does, and it went up over time. I mean, sure, depending on when you retired, the timing wasn't always kind, but for the most part, you got what was promised. That's the whole deal. You took the risk you were told to take, no more, no less. Well, the deal just changed, and nobody asked you. The clearance bin is now a part of the plan. So let's unbox it. Let's see what's inside. First thing you'll find, private equity. These are funds that buy whole companies, finance most of the purchase with debt the company itself takes on, cut aggressively the costs, and then try to sell 5 to 10 years later for more than what they paid for it. 401k savers were kept away from private equity for 2 reasons. One, once your money goes in, it's essentially locked, sometimes 10 years, sometimes longer. And 2, these deals fail at roughly 10 times the rate of comparable companies that don't get acquired this way. Cal Poly Research, decades of data. Toys R Us is one, as an example. Bain Capital, KKR, and Vornado took it private in 2005 and loaded it with over $5 billion in debt. They couldn't sell enough toys to carry the weight. Bankrupt by 2017. 33,000 employees laid off. The firms, though, they collected transaction and management fees the entire time the company was sinking. The laid off workers, they eventually settled for $60 each. And it's not just Toys R Us. I'm talking about Sears, Payless, Radio Shack, Sports Authority, same playbook, same outcome. From 2015 to 2020, more than half of every retail bankruptcy in America was owned by private equity. 71% just in 2025. 500,000 jobs gone. Now, picture that same arrangement holding a slice of your retirement plan. You're locked in. And here's the part they'll never put in the brochure. They get paid either way. You find out it failed when there's nothing left to find out. Your 401k would take the loss while everyone else collected fees on the way down. The second thing getting access to 401k money, private credit. This is direct lending. You see, after 2008, banks got new rules that pushed them out of certain kinds of corporate loans. So a parallel system grew up to take those loans instead. Today, it's a $2 trillion industry. It sounds boring. It's not. 401k savers were not allowed to invest in private credit for 3 reasons. 1, there's no public market for these loans. If you want out, you wait until the loan matures. That could be 5 years, maybe 10. 2, there's no daily price. The fund manager values the loan however they value it. By the time something's gone wrong, you find out months later, sometimes longer. 3, and this one is the big one. The entire asset class has never been tested through a real recession. It only exists in this current form because of post-2008 rules. We have no data on how it behaves when the economy actually breaks. And there's a structural crack already showing. Almost 90% of these loans are now what's called covenant light, meaning the early warning system that lenders used to have, the periodic financial check-ins on the borrower, those have been deleted from the contract. Covenant light is like lending someone $500,000 with no credit check, and then only finding out they were broke once the check bounces. The lender doesn't find out the company is in trouble until a payment gets missed. Sometimes not even then. By the time it shows up, options are limited. And it's already cracking. September of last year, 2 big names, First Brands, auto parts company, $12 billion balance sheet, collapsed. Tricolor Holdings, subprime auto lender, gone the same month. The chair of UBS came out in November and said the conditions in private credit right now look like the conditions that led to 2008. His exact words, looming systemic risk. And the receipts back him up. Headline default rate in private credit, the one you see on TV, it's about 2%. Fitch's actual number, as of January, 9.2%. That's almost 5 times the headline. The gap is hidden in workarounds the industry uses to keep loans from showing as defaulted on paper. The crack is structural, and the cycle is starting. And now they want to put it inside your retirement plan. Third, crypto. You know what that is. The argument here has always been that it didn't belong in a retirement account because retirement accounts are supposed to be conservative. And crypto, it can swing 30% in a week, 99% in a year. The Biden Labor Department issued formal guidance in 2022, extreme care, before adding crypto to a retirement plan, citing significant risks of fraud, theft, and loss. That guidance got rescinded in May of last year. Trump's August executive order took it a step further. 401k savers were warned away from crypto for 3 specific reasons. 1, volatility. Bitcoin's chart looks like a heart attack readout. The 2018 cycle saw Bitcoin lose 84% of its value from peak to trough. The 2022 cycle wiped out $2 trillion in market cap. November of last year was Bitcoin's worst month since 2022, down 25% in 30 days. And then 2, custody risk. You see, you don't actually hold the coin, an exchange holds it. So if the exchange fails, your access to your money fails with it. And 3, fraud. The entire history of the industry is one collapse after another. And these aren't theoretical collapses. FTX, second largest crypto exchange in the world. Sam Bankman-Fried, the guy on the magazine covers, bankrupt November 2022. Billions of dollars in customer funds frozen overnight. Same year, Terra and Luna, $500 billion in market value wiped out in a few days. And then Voyager and BlockFi, 2 major crypto lenders, bankrupt within 7 months. Customers who thought they had savings woke up to find they had claims in a bankruptcy court instead. In 2014, I started dollar cost averaging into various cryptos. And I started really small. I was just putting in $25 a week. And as business grew for me, I increased that to $300 a week. And in 2021, my crypto holdings skyrocketed to where it amounted to 80% of my net worth. Now, I'm a real estate guy. My wealth was predominantly built and held in real estate up until then. But crypto, it just exploded. And all of a sudden, I woke up a crypto guy. I held it in an exchange that was paying 7 to 11% interest. Life was good until it wasn't. That exchange that held my coins, Celsius, another crypto lender that filed for bankruptcy, took my newfound wealth with it. Easy come, easy go. Needless to say, I'm a real estate guy again. My real estate hasn't endured. But that volatility in crypto hasn't gone anywhere. Last October, $19 billion in leveraged crypto positions got liquidated in a single day. 24 hours. Nothing about crypto became less risky in the last 12 months. What changed is the March 30 rule. Same instrument, same volatility, now legal inside the vault, your 401k. Now those are 3 different investment products en route to tap into the $48 trillion, 3 different vehicles. One thing in common, every one of them is illiquid, opaque, or wildly volatile. Every one has a lower batting average than what you're invested in now. And every one of them was kept away from regular savers for those exact reasons. So why are they suddenly the future of your retirement? Short answer, because 1, there's a lot of it for sale. 2, nobody will buy it. And 3, somebody's making money on this, whether you do or not. So first, there's a lot for sale. Basically, the discount bin is full. And here's why. Someone built too much. And because they did, it all has to go somewhere. Apollo, Blackstone, Heirs, KKR, and BlackRock. They didn't just discover this inventory, they created it. Over the last 15 years, they raised trillions of dollars from pension funds, sovereign wealth, university endowments. They took that money, bought up companies, made the loans, put together the deals, and they built the inventory because they had buyers willing to pay for it. Then the buyers stopped buying. And that brings us to the second thing. The pension funds are full. Every state retirement system, every major endowment, they've already allocated everything that they're going to allocate. The university money is in, the sovereign wealth is in, the good companies got bought already. The high quality borrowers got their loans years ago. What's left in the pipeline is what didn't sell at the institutional level. And the third thing, and this is the part that explains everything. You see, these firms get paid based on how much money they manage, not how well it performs. 2% a year of whatever's in the fund, whether the fund goes up, sideways, or down, plus 20% of any profits, if there are any. They make money on the way in, on the way through, and on the way out. The only thing that hurts them is having no money to manage it all. So when the institutional buyers stopped buying, they had a problem. Not a performance problem, a pipeline problem. Then they looked at your 401k, $48 trillion, captive, patient, politically protected, locked in until you turn 59 and a half. It doesn't ask questions. It doesn't read the prospectus. It doesn't know it's been moved into something it shouldn't be in until the gate closes. They don't need the products to perform. They need the products to get bought. And once they're inside your retirement, they get bought automatically, every paycheck, on autopilot, whether you noticed or not. The average worker checks their 401k statement 4 times a year. The fees get collected 52 times. That's the whole game. That's always been the game behind the 401k, if you didn't know that. And the game board is growing, and the stakes are now rising. And look, this isn't a left-right thing. I think Trump has the best intentions with this move. But Senator Elizabeth Warren has been writing letters to 401k record keepers opposing this since June of last year, 2 months before Trump even signed the executive order. No surprise there that they're on opposite sides of this issue. And it's important to note, though, that the SEC's own Office of the Investor Advocate, a nonpartisan watchdog, flagged this as a top priority for 2026. So you've got a Democratic senator and a federal investor protection office. They're raising the same concern. And so when the left and the regulators are both saying, wait a minute, that's institutional pushback from inside the system that's supposed to be protecting you. And it's tough to tell these days what's motivating politicians. I can't prove any of it even if I could, but here's what I do know. You've got two paths, and they're not equally exposed. Path one, if your retirement is sitting in market-based accounts, do this in the next week. Pull your target date funds prospectus. Online, 15 seconds to find. Search the document for the words alternatives and private. Find the section on the fund manager's discretion to change allocations. There's almost certainly a clause that lets the manager add new asset classes without notifying you. That's the clause that just got the all clear. If your fund offers a low-cost index alternative, pure stocks, pure bonds, transparent pricing. Now, I'm not giving you investing advice, but I would ask you to consider switching into it. The clearance bin can't legally fit inside a fund required to track the S&P 500. But hey, if you like the risk-reward ratio, then that's your call. Either way, send your HR an email so that it's in writing and ask what their fiduciary duty obligates them to disclose about alternative investments inside your retirement plan. Use the word fiduciary a lot. It puts the question on a paper trail. Once it's on a paper trail, somebody at the company has to actually answer it. Path two, if you own real estate, the executive order doesn't touch you. The deed in your filing cabinet, that's yours. No fund manager can reallocate it. No private credit firm can mark it down on a Tuesday afternoon. Your home equity, your rental properties, the cash flow that arrives in your account whether or not Wall Street has a good quarter, that's solvency. That's a fortress. That's the difference between paper liquidity and real assets. Paper liquidity is what your statement says you have. Real liquidity is what you have when the gate goes down. I learned that the hard way with Celsius. So now I own deeds, many more, that I can touch, and gold that I can hold. Building a war chest of hard assets, real estate with fixed rate debt, gold and silver outside the system, productive cash flow, that's active defense. If you want to look at how to do that without becoming a landlord or learning a new business from scratch, links in the description. It's inflationdefense.com if you're listening on the podcast. So you can have a portfolio Wall Street is allowed to dump their clearance bin into, or you can have a fortress that sits outside their reach. You can have both, technically. I do. But know that only one of them will be there when the gates go down. The vault is open. The order was signed last August. The rule was published just 5 weeks ago, and the comment period closes June 1st. The Apollo deal is live, the Blackstone deal is live, the BlackRock deal is live. They're all live. And by the time the first 401k locks up withdrawals on a retiree, the inventory will already be inside. This isn't coming. It's already here. Most people just won't feel it for 18 months or so. The households that come through the next decade in good shape will be the ones who knew the difference between paper liquidity and real assets before the 18 months ended. Real assets like income-producing real estate, which I'm partial to, and precious metals, money that nobody can mark down, nobody can gate, nobody can move into a clearance bin without telling you. But buying gold and silver has its own landmines you want to avoid. Not Wall Street this time, the dealers themselves. Some of them are honest. I'd like to think most of them are, but some of them aren't. And that's why I pulled this video out here for you to watch next. It's the one I wish my grandpa had seen before he made a $50,000 phone call mistake. There's a way to buy gold, and then there's the right way. Watch here. God loves you, so do I. Take care.
Yeah, he's great. And that's Epic Real Estate. He is on YouTube. And the reason I played that whole video is because it is important, because we need to really know what investments are happening, right? And if they're dipping into people's 401ks, just like he said, when the 2008 housing market collapsed, it affected everybody, right? The tech boom, everybody. The only one that really hasn't affected us in a bad way, even with its ebbs and flows, complete wicked ups and downs is crypto, right? It hasn't wiped out anybody in the market, in the economy necessarily, because of its vitality, right? Only people that are really affected are people that are invested in it, right? If you've got millions of dollars, like when it got up to, I want to say 120,000 per Bitcoin, that's when people should have pulled out. But the question is, could they? Or did they have to leave their money in there? Right? Because in my opinion, the smart thing would have been is if you could get at least half of it out, put it in a hard asset, right? Put it in the proper gold and silver and real estate. Because in that way, you're leveraging the boom. But if you didn't do that and you were sitting back there like, oh, crypto's always going to be around, mistake. The crypto is one of those things. It's like get in, get out with your shirt. All right. So this last video I'm going to play, this is from Melanie King. And I really wanted to get into it because we are still talking about the hantavirus, right? And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because we need to talk about how prevalent it is, right? And what the real human to human transmission is, because from what I understand with this particular hantavirus, it's only produced if you are in a toxic area with like rat or mice droppings in their feces, right? Their droppings in urine. So if you are in a space like that where it's in your air ducts or whatever, yes, it can affect you. But that doesn't necessarily mean human to human transmission. It's not airborne like that, right? It's not airborne like the flu. And with the 2020, what we went through, that one was highly contagious per the PCR test, but it wasn't deadly. That was the thing. It was transmittable highly, but it only became deadly when people were given certain protocols that were not the correct protocols. And that's how we, unfortunately lost some of our loved ones. So let's check this out.
Sadly, was fairly predictable, and it won't be the last pandemic. The next one could be far more severe. I mean, this one, it killed millions. It was awful. We got the vaccine. Actually, President Trump's leadership was a factor in getting that out quickly, and so when I spoke to him, I said, okay, here's some other medical innovations, including a thing called an HIV cure that could be accelerated.
So just breaking, Spain just confirmed another hantavirus positive passenger tied to the MV Honda's cluster. This just came out. Let me give you some more details. Now, I reported earlier about the other cases that have been confirmed, but I just want to run down this so you can have a clear picture as of right now, as this video is coming out, who has been like the new cases that have come out, right? So it says, as of May 11th, 2026, today, the 3 newly reported confirmed cases, remember, there's other cases that they haven't confirmed yet. Confirmed cases tied to the MV Honda's Andes hantavirus cluster are all repatriated passengers who were evacuated or disembarked in recent days. These bring the confirmed total to 7, plus 2 probable cases still awaiting full lab results, for an overall cluster of 9 to 10 associated cases and 3 deaths. All are linked to the original ship exposure in Argentina. No new deaths or community spread reported. So about the French national, remember, we still haven't heard about the French guy. It's been days now. They haven't confirmed anything. So the French woman, she was repatriated to France, likely via charter flight from Tenerife. Developed symptoms late on May 10th during or after the flight home. Tested positive for the Andes hantavirus. PCR confirmed. Condition worsened overnight. She is now hospitalized in France with deteriorating health, described as serious by officials. France's health minister, Stephanie Rist, confirmed the case publicly today. Contact tracing is underway for her close contacts, including on the flight. Now, the U.S. national, okay, this is U.S. national number 1, asymptomatic, mildly positive. One of the 17 to 18 Americans repatriated on a charter flight that arrived in Nebraska early on May 11th, today, tested mildly PCR positive for the virus while in the plane's biocontainment unit. Currently asymptomatic, transferred to a specialized biocontainment facility in Nebraska for monitoring and care. U.S. national number 2. Yes, there's 2. Mild symptoms. Also on the same U.S. repatriation flight to Nebraska, developed mild symptoms during and after travel, being evaluated and isolated in a second specialized center as a suspected possible case. All U.S. passengers from the flight are undergoing full clinical assessment. But I told you, they're releasing them to go home. Like they're releasing them just to go home and to self-isolate and to self-monitor. I don't know how they're getting home. That is like a huge question, but I mean, all of it is a big red flag. But let's get to this. They're not going to be quarantined in Nebraska like that's been put out. That's not happening, right? They will be sent home if they haven't already. So note on the Spanish case, okay? This was that post I just showed you. This is an additional asymptomatic PCR positive passenger confirmed today in Spain after disembarking in Tenerife. It is sometimes referenced separately, but it's...
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. Now, these PCR tests can be set to pick up whatever you want it to. And they found that out in 2020. Before the inventor of the PCR test suspiciously passed away. So PCR tests are, in my opinion, invalid. And they have tested and proven and documented it that it is an invalid test, but they're still using it to cause panic. Why are they causing panic? I just showed you the financial thing. Did any of you guys know about this that happened last year? It's been constant panic. Constant drama, constant look over here at what we're doing, constant look over there at what we're doing. And now they're trying to create a whole frenzy for a new lockdown based on a virus that's not transmissible. And I'll show you that in a second.
It's part of the same wave of post-disembarkation testing results coming in on May 11th. These cases were saying it was all expected as a possibility that more. That's all we have on this Spanish passenger. We don't know if it's a man or woman. We don't know the details. So this is what is all going on right now. And we're seeing more cases pop up and 2 cases here in the U.S. already, if you have not heard that information. Now take a look at this. One day before the hantavirus fear campaign began, WHO pandemic treaty talks collapsed, prompting Tedros to warn the next pandemic was a matter of when, not if. Then suddenly, one day later, the cruise ship hantavirus media frenzy exploded. Don't fall for the Bill Gates WHO pandemic profiteering complex. Well, if they try to put us in a lockdown and make this thing spread, guys, and plus we have the global energy crisis that's happening at the same time. They're hitting us with a cluster on every single level. Like, I don't know if you've seen what's happening at the grocery stores. Like, there is a lot to unpack, not all in this video, but take a listen to this clip.
The World Health Organization and their pandemic treaty that they're trying to put into effect, that is stalling. The talks are failing. In fact, 5 days ago, the member states couldn't agree on the pandemic sharing annex of the agreement. And so the talks collapsed. There won't be a pandemic treaty for maybe another year. And that made the World Health Organization Director General warn, basically threaten, it seems, saying the next pandemic's not a matter of if, but when. And he said that 5 days ago. And then all of a sudden we have this entire situation, almost like they want to scare people into putting in that pandemic agreement. They want to try and get the U.S. to join back into the World Health Organization. In fact, the Director General just said, now he hopes the U.S. will reconsider. So they're issuing all these threats. So this hantavirus situation, it's expected to die off. It's supposed to die off by everything we know about the Andes strain and the hantavirus and how it's not easily transmitted to other humans. It should die off. And this was just a way to, again, scare everybody into submission. But we'll have to wait and see. Remember, who's the biggest individual or nonprofit donor to the World Health Organization? Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. And again, that's all the official information. It's not supposed to spread. It's not easily.
And the reason why they need the United States a part of the WHO is because they don't have a funding source. A stable funding source. See, they keep trying to drag us in because they know that one of our members of Congress could actually write into legislation perpetual funding, which is what they don't have. They have donations from participating members, right? Bill Gates, he's a part of the WHO on his own. And he's representing himself, not the United States, right? They need us because they need the money. They don't need us for anything else. Sorry.
It's not easy to transfer from person to person. That's what we're all hearing. But again, guys, we don't know. We don't really have. That's what they're telling us. We don't know, right? And this was some of the same things we were hearing about COVID. Now, I'll just jump to this really quickly. Jake Rosemarin, well, his sister just happened to work in global health, aka Big Pharma Propaganda Division. You cannot make this up. Look, this is his sister, Managing Associate, Recovery Division, Haggerty Consultant, MPH, Global Health Haggerty Consultant. And you guys know I've gone on and on about Jake. There's still a lot more to unpack, but I thought that was interesting. Now listen to this. Dr. Pierre Corey exposes a massive media anomaly. He reveals that over 100,000 articles were published globally about the hantavirus in just a few days. That's unprecedented. He confirms this massive coordination is entirely unnatural. Take a listen.
What actually kind of intrigued me more, Natalia, about what you said is a colleague told me that there was like 100,000 articles written around the world on hantavirus in the last couple of days. And that's not typical for a hantavirus outbreak. Certainly there's always attention and people get scared, but like that's the other thing with COVID. It was COVID 24/7. And then when you said in your intro about how it seems to be driven by influencers, I'm sorry if I'm getting too like I don't know. I actually never want to use the word tin hat because I'm not a tin hat, but these patterns are anomalous. Why, with just this little outbreak of a few cases, suddenly like it's consuming the world's media cycle? Like, for instance, I'm on talking about it today. It's because it's being driven by something. What actually kind of intrigued me more, Natalia,
there's no way influencers didn't create 100,000 articles being written. That's a completely separate thing than influencers. In fact, there's not a ton of videos being put out. I'm updating you guys on this information for that specific purpose because there's so much misinformation. But for articles, understand, articles are news organizations, mainstream media, right? So all of that's coming out. Again, we don't know where this is going to land, but I think it's important to.
And over 100,000 articles, that's an AI. They could probably push out 200,000, right? Is that what the data centers are for? To use and weaponize against us? Just saying. Let's put it all together.
Put this out because we are finding contradictory information everywhere, including, look at this. Now I pointed something else out earlier on another video. Lie detector. Hazmat suits on deadly virus victims, but let them walk by 30 people with no protective gear on for a person-to-person spread illness. Okay, so let me just see if I can fast forward. So I had these on, but then they were allowed to, and this is where I want to show you this. I think I did this earlier. Actually, that's not the one. We're seeing these images everywhere. All these hazmat suits, everyone has to have a hazmat suit. Why doesn't he have to have one? Please explain that to me. And many other people that we're seeing. Why don't they have to? Right? Okay. So this person says politicians in suits stand next to a bus full of people in hazmat suits who are allegedly being quarantined for exposure to hantavirus. I already told you that quarantine is not going to continue. If it may have already stopped and they are being sent home. So legacy media
Is this the new mask thing? I'm just saying.
can take photographs in order to promote their new scandemic. They're already discussing vaccines and think you're stupid. So it's no real audio, but look at them gathered, smiling, having a good old time, just chit-chatting. Hey, it's like a little reunion. What are we doing? Let's gather. Let's, for our photo op so we can, push this out more. Right? Now, this is crazy. The 12 members of staff at a Dutch hospital made procedural errors during the blood draw and disposal of urine from the patient contaminated with the hantavirus. They will be placed in quarantine for 6 weeks, even though it has an 8-week incubation period. So 12 hospital staff did not draw blood correctly. So is blood spraying out somewhere and the urine, or are they letting it slosh all over people? Like what? What are we doing here? So now this is one of the ways, body fluids, it's one of the ways that this spreads. But now they're going to be quarantined. But when did this happen? There's no explanation of when it happened, how long ago. When they announce it, guys, understand it's been happening. And that the Dutch hospital, I believe that was one of the original passengers, or no, that's the one in Switzerland. So there's another Dutch victim that is there. Again, it's very confusing information, but just look at the sloppiness of how things are being handled. Sloppiness. Now this gets into that deep tinfoil. Put your tinfoil on right now, guys. This is just, these people, they have no shame. At 15:33 on the third day of the month, third day of the third month, exactly 33 cases have been counted. They've docked at pier number 33. A simple coincidence? Of course, just like the 33rd degree, the highest degree in Freemasonry. He's saying in France, but that's all over the world. So, yeah. You see all those threes? 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Interesting, right? Now, this is going to, some of you are going to get chills on this one. COVID dictator Dr. Deborah Birx has crawled out of her deep state rat hole. She would like PCR testing for everyone. We're not testing populations. We don't really know whether they are subclinical cases. So that was her with Dr. Fauci, which, if you don't know, the same day this came out, it was announced that he will be facing no charges, including charges of lying to Congress, which was proven. So he's not going to face any criminal charges. And don't you find, is that a coincidence that came out in the middle of this hantavirus, explosion in the media, and that quietly went under the radar? Okay, listen to this.
I caution people, because when we say human-to-human transmission, we're talking about people who develop symptoms. But because we're not testing populations with RNAs, we don't really know whether there are subclinical cases. So there could be more human-to-human transmission than we...
Testing people with RNA. What? You got to listen to these people. It's crazy.
Actually see. It's never good to track viruses through symptoms. We should be tracking viruses through blood tests like PCR. We've learned that with COVID. Extraordinarily helpful. Many universities were able to open and schools were...
No, it wasn't. Because during that time, the flu stopped. Every other virus magically stopped. People that were decapitated on roads were dying with COVID, not of COVID. Now, with it means that it was traced in their blood through these blood tests that she's talking about with the PCR test. There's a difference if you die of COVID, that means you were actually diagnosed with it and then you died. Are we going to do that again now with the hantavirus? The signaling.
Able to open because they provided weekly testing and it really prevented spread. So we know how to deal with these viruses. We just need to move into the 21st century and make testing more widely available to those who need it.
Oh, and then subsection on this again. Sorry. The PCR test. A lot of those tests have found that they actually had chemicals and microfibers that were being put into your body. So they were actually putting mRNA on some of these and all other kinds of things with these quote unquote tests. We're not doing this again. I'm going to tell you that right now. Scarf lady, you're going to prison. I'm not sure how they allowed Dr. Fauci to be absolved of all the criminal activity that he did. But you know what? We're not doing this again. I'm going to tell you that right now.
And I caution people because when we say human to human
we know how to deal with these viruses. But she did say something really, I think is truthful there. That just because they're not symptomatic doesn't mean it can't spread. And right now, it seems like they're monitoring for symptoms versus actually doing blood tests and digging in and seeing what's going on with every single person, every single contact trace. It's just isolated home. And we still don't know all of the contact tracing information. They have not publicly made it available. So we're just left to guess. But when you start seeing her come back out into the woodwork, well, you know that there is propaganda going on. Again, will this turn out to be anything? Maybe not. But be sure that all of this is part of the overall pandemic. And we're going to see we definitely will see another pandemic come out, or either this one is going to continue to escalate quietly at first under the radar like COVID, and then you'll start to see the explosion. I want to show you my new.
Yeah, and here's my thing, because they did this before. And remember, all the testing was like, oh my gosh, the test. It was always the test. You never knew if anyone had actually passed away. They didn't count that. They only counted the testings. And these PCR tests can be programmed to test positive for anything. You got to remember, fruit tested positive. Goats tested positive, not just humans. And that happened. Okay. Those articles came out and everybody's like, oh no, you're crazy, you're crazy. And then when it all came out, I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Is that what we're doing again? Is that what we're doing again? Now, I wanted to tap into the hantavirus really quickly before we get out of here. Thank you guys again for joining me. And it gave me an outline of the hantavirus and a little bit of background on it. Now, there are two main clinical syndromes. There's the hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome, which you will refer to as HFRS. Old strains, mostly in Asian Europe, affects kidneys, causes bleeding and shock. Now, the Hunter pulmonary syndrome, and I think that's what we're dealing with, the HPS or HCPS, New World strains, America's, causes severe lung edema and heart strain. Fatalities range from less than 1% to less than 15%. For HFRS, 30 to 40% for HPS. That's for HFRs, that's that one. And 35 to 40% of HPS in Americas. No specific antiviral treatment or widely available vaccine exists. Care is supportive. Now, here's my thing. How can it be this high and nobody's ever talked about it? It's over 30%. Really? Are you sure? Just saying. Now, in World War II is when we heard about the first field nephritis and hemorrhagic fever noted among troops in Europe and Asia. That was 1951 and 1954 during the Korean War. Now, in 1976, the Hanhen virus, the prototype Old World strain, was isolated from striped field mice, okay, by South Korean researcher Hwang Lee. This launched modern hantavirus research. Okay, now discovery in the Americans in 1993 onward. So before 1993, scientists didn't think pathogenic hantaviruses existed in the Western Hemisphere. Now, May 1993, Four Corners outbreak, Arizona, New Mexico, Mexico, and Colorado, Utah. They call those the Four Corners. A cluster of severe, unexplained respiratory deaths, mostly among young adults in southwestern U.S., triggered a CDC investigation. The cause was identified as a new virus, right? Norbury virus, SNV, carried by deer mice, okay? Illness onset clustered in spring-summer of 1993 amid a rodent population boom linked to El Nino weather and abundant food. Initial reports, less than 25 to 53 cases by year end, roughly 50% fatality. This was the first recognized HPS outbreak and the discovery of new world hantaviruses causing pulmonary disease. Now, if anybody's like a X-Files nerd, which I am, and that in the movie there's a scene, and you've seen this probably on YouTube or circulating on TikTok, and everybody's like, "Oh, what's going on?" They talk about the hantavirus, and in that scene with Mulder and the gentleman, he talks about why was FEMA sent out to check on these field mice, and he was saying it's not the hantavirus. And that's what I'm saying. Allegedly, this is more than just the hantavirus. It is a way to self-control us again. Now, we already did this the first time, but they're using the PCR test again, and they're using fear again, just like they did the first time, without any backed or based evidence. I want hardcore evidence, but you're not going to give me that. You're going to give me fear. You're going to put out articles and, oh my goodness, the sky is falling. I'm going to sue everybody this time. We have to. Now, national intelligence began immediately. HPS became nationally notifiable in 1995. Retrospective testing later found unrecognized U.S. cases dating back to at least the 1950s. So it was just passed off. But here's the thing. If you live in an environment where there's rats and mice and droppings, and it gets into the ventilation systems, that's the thing. If you know that you have rodents, squirrels, whatever, rats, and they're living in your ventilation system, yeah, you're going to get this. But that's not viral. That's bacterial. Two different things. But they want to dub everything a virus, like it just be caught. It's not airborne. If it's not airborne, it's not a virus. If you get sick from something, some form of anything, because you've inhaled it, that's when it becomes bacterial, because it's messing with your internal organs and systems. And usually antibiotics usually have to help you through that, right? But we're not talking about that part. It's that part. So in 1995, Andes virus ANDV was identified in Argentina and Chile. It is the only hantavirus known to transmit person to person, okay, via close, prolonged contact with symptomatic individuals' body fluids, okay? Most other strains are strictly rodent to human. Okay, so this Andes virus, so you got to be in, you know what I'm saying, close proximity. Still not airborne. It's still not airborne. That's still bacterial, because you actually have to transmit something. That's the difference. Just saying, just putting that out there. Notable outbreaks in 1996, Argentina first documented person-to-person transmission of the antivirus. 2012, Yosemite Park, right? There was a cluster of 10 HPS cases, 3 deaths linked to deer mice in insulated signature tent cabins. Again, droppings, urine. Okay. The park warned less than 10,000 visitors. 2018 to 2019, in Argentina, one of the largest documented person-to-person clusters, 34 cases, 11 deaths, driven by super spreaders at social events. Strict quarantine and contact tracing were implemented. Super spreaders, usually that means there was a whole bunch of people doing a whole bunch of stuff that we won't even talk about on my show, transmitted that person to person. Again, it's not airborne. It's not none of these cases say airborne. So that means it can't be a virus. Viruses are airborne. So stop lying to us. Now, Europe and Asia's periodic at HFRS outbreaks, Pamela virus, Scandinavia and Germany, ongoing HFRS in China and Korea, often tied to rodent surges in rural and forested areas. Again, the droppings in the urine. Now, in 2026, the MV Honduras cruise ship outbreak, the Andes virus, a notable recent cluster began after passengers, including bird watchers, were exposed to rodents near Ushuaia, Argentina, before boarding in April. The ship sailed through the South Atlantic. As of early May 2026, WHO reported 8 cases, 6 confirmed, 2 probable, including 3 deaths, limited person-to-person spread. Oh, so it wasn't person-to-person spread. On board is suspected. The ship was evacuated, quarantined off Tenerife, Cape Verde, with international coordination. Global risk remains low. Yeah, because it's something that you can get from field mice or rats or mice, and it's in the ventilation system. Tell people the truth about this. It is not a virus. Now, if you were on a ship, that's nasty, by the way, because you got rats and you got mice in your ventilation system, and people are ingesting and breathing in that air that's not purified. It's just circulated. What are we talking about? And why don't we have filters on these boats anyway? You should. It would probably cut down on when people get the norovirus, which is the stomach flu. But there's something in the ventilation systems. Now, we get the norovirus, pretty much it's in the food. There's something spread through there. But at the same time, that same virus is airborne. So if you had a purification system on your boats, which you should have, I'm just saying, that would cut down on viruses like this. But it's not. It's a nasty boat. That's what I'm going to call it. It's a nasty boat. Okay? It's nasty. Clean your stuff. Because I guarantee you, if they do a whole investigation like they're supposed to, they will find that there were rat droppings in there. Were they placed there? Were these people like the test subjects and didn't know it? Huh? There's going to be so many more viruses. You're creating this stuff. And when we find out the evidence that you have been manufacturing these pandemics, allegedly, we're coming for you. Okay? We are coming for you. So outbreaks are usually sporadic and tied to rodent-human contact, cleaning sheds, camping in infested areas. That's what I'm saying. If you're cleaning out your shed and there's rat droppings everywhere, you might ingest and can get sick. That's why, sometimes you're supposed to wear filtered masks when you're doing things like that, so you do not get sick. Though Andes virus has shown rare sustained human chains in South America, climate change, rodent population booms, and human encroachment into wild areas increase risk. Prevention is straightforward. Rodent-proof homes. Avoid disrupting droppings without proper protection. Mask, gloves, wet cleaning, and steer clear of rodent-heavy areas. Yeah, I mean, even in Orange County, California, they had a bad rodent population because they built in places that were kind of like marshes, kind of like in Florida, Orange County, California. And when they did that, they disrupted the rat and mice populations. So where are those creatures going to go? They're going to go to wherever they can abide. And so they started abiding in buildings and homes, and people got sick. We're not even talking about that. They didn't call it the haunted virus. It wasn't. But they had a rat problem, which they still do. in large parts of Orange County, California. So I said, has there been gain of function to make it more transmissible? No. Okay, well, at least that's good, right? There's no credible evidence of gain of function. Research has made the hantavirus more transmissible between humans. So it even knew what I was talking about. I didn't even have to say more, right? Now, I wanted to know what is the risk of human-to-human contact? The risk of human-to-human transmission of hantavirus is very low. It's generally very low. It is rare, not efficient like flu or COVID-19, and documented only for antivirus in South America. Most other hantaviruses are strictly rodent-to-human zoonoses, with humans acting as dead-end hosts. That means, so if somebody gets it, they can't transmit it to somebody else. It stops with them. Period. There is no human-to-human transmission unless you have really taken the rat droppings and turned it into something that can survive more than one person and be replicated from human to human, which would be gain of function. What are we talking about? Y'all are nasty. Clean up stuff. You got rats in your ventilation systems. Clean it up. It's gross. Okay. So I wanted to say, is there a vaccine for the hantavirus? No, there is no widely available, universally approved vaccine for the hantavirus. Now, here's the current status. No licensed vaccine exists in the United States, Europe, Latin America, or general international use. No vaccine is available for New World hantavirus, Andes virus responsible for the recent cruise ship outbreak, Cynomolbray virus in the U.S., which caused hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. Limited options in Asia. Now in South Korea, the Hantavax indicated vaccine against hantavirus has been used since the 1990s, but protection is moderate, limited in duration, and not highly effective long term. So it's a nothing. Because, like I said, it's not a virus, it's bacterial. They have totally misrepresented everything that's going on with this. How is something a virus and it's not airborne? It's this stuff that just drives me. So China inactivated vaccines, rodent brain or cell cultivated derived against Hantan sole viruses have been used with millions of doses administered historically. They contributed to declining HFRS cases, but are not 100% effective and not available elsewhere. Yeah, because they're just using people as guinea pigs to see if they die or not, or if they live. Just saying. These Asian vaccines do not reliably protect against new world strains like the antivirus. So virus development pipeline, several candidates are in early stages, but none are ready for public use. Okay, so preclinical work on various platforms, including mRNA. Why are we shocked? Y'all want so bad to just kill everybody off. I'm just over it. Okay, Moderna, collaboration and others from University of Bath, promising labs, in labs, animals here, heading toward phase 1 soon. Yeah, I'm sure you are. Phase 1 human trials have occurred for some candidates, and this virus DNA vaccine showed good antibody responses, but requires multiple doses. Yeah, sure it does. Experts estimate it could take years, potentially 5 to 10 plus, without major funding push to reach approval due to rare disease status, making large efficacy trials difficult. See, this is what happened with COVID. And then they were like, oh my gosh, we have this outbreak. We have to. And then years later, they told us, well, it actually does lower your immune system. We're so sorry. And then it got to the point where it's like, yeah, you don't have to really take it anymore. We can't force you. We're sorry. You're sorry. You destroyed people's lives. People died behind this. And you're sorry. And Fauci's not in prison. And you're sorry. Okay. You're sorry you got caught. Because at this juncture, Fauci's not in jail. Nobody should be going back to Congress. And I mean nobody. If they're in Congress right now, they need to be voted out today. When the midterms come up, you don't have a job anymore. You're not going back to Congress. And this is why I say we need a new form of government. Now, I am the founder of the Redemption Party. I would love to see any and everybody run for Congress. I'm talking about House and Senate all over the country. And we start to take the majority away from these two parties that have done nothing but destroy and run this country into the ground. It's time for this to be over. And I mean it. We are only going to have more death and destruction. That's all. That's it. They don't care. They don't, because if they did, we wouldn't be here right now. How in the world did we get a country 250 years ago? 250 years ago. Not perfect. Still progressing to be better, right? Because you're never going to be perfect. And now we're doing worse, because now you want to force unaliving people with something that's completely manufactured. And yes, this is all biblical. God warned us that all of this was going to happen and all of this was going to come to pass. But does that mean that we sit back and not do anything? Because in James it says, with faith without works is dead. Okay, it's time to get things done. So definitely check out the USARedemptionParty.com. We are looking for servants of the people, not politicians. It is time to flip the tables and really get things done for the American people that haven't been done before. And that means doing what's right. So I want to thank you guys for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. We'll be back tomorrow with our Women in Wellness Wednesday, and it will be open mic. So if anybody would like to join me, you can send me an email at unfilteredvisionnews@gmail.com or direct message me on X. And with that, I just want to thank you guys for joining me here, and we will see you in the next one.